So I am sorry, because of technology, I'm going to be running the show. So if you guys can have your seat, I know I'm way over here, but that's okay. I appreciate everybody that's come and everybody that's online. We have people from all over. And so we are just very blessed that you guys can participate. Just a little bit of logistics. If you're online joining us via Zoom, please mute unless we ask you to unmute. And then we will certainly have some Q&A times. And if you're online, post your questions in their Q&A, not the chat box. And we have Jessica, my wonderful tech assistant, is going to monitor that. We are going to have a $100 drawing for each participant that completes a survey after this. And that $100 will go to the Haitian organization of choice. So I just want you to be aware that if you do a paper one while we're here today, then you don't have to do the online one. And those virtually, I will be sending an online survey to. I also want everybody to acknowledge we are going to be recording this. It'll ultimately end up on our YouTube channel and on our Haiti Symposium website. So I want to share with you our sponsors because we could not do this without them. Our gold sponsors are Higgins Brothers Surgery Center, Hope for Caribbean Kids, and Naissance or Global Birthing Home Foundation. So thank you guys. And the Harbin Family Foundation is a silver sponsor. And then Gloria House Services is bronze sponsors. This is a website that we have set up, has lots of good information, but it can get out of date. So if you guys have information you want me to put on that website, please let me know. I have particularly resources, books, films, but I also have a partner page. So we try to put links to each of the partners who have participated and come and have interest in collaborating together. And that's our YouTube channel. So I'm going to keep this short, and I'm going to let the panel actually introduce themselves. But we are so blessed today to actually have a panel discussion, and they'll share more about themselves and how this is going to work. But I think it's going to be invaluable for all of us. Thank you.
So I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you for having us here, Janice, and everybody with the Haiti Symposium. My name is Megan Schreiber. I am the Executive Director for Haitian Christian Outreach, and I work alongside of Ro and Aline in Haiti near Jacmel in the southeast of Haiti. And I'll let Aline go next here.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Eileen Eustache, born and raised in Haiti, and we are missionaries from Haitian Christian Outreach, and we are in Port-au-Prince and Southeast.
My name is Basten Eustache, but everyone call me Roro. And I always tell people that I am a very famous person. And people always ask me, why are you so famous? And I said, even before I was born, someone made me famous in writing a song about me. Kids would love that. And they start singing, row, row, row your boat.
That's a tough act to follow. I'm Rick Barton. I live in Washington, D.C. I'm an old friend of Ted Higgins. We were high school classmates. And I've worked in Haiti since 1990, although I have not been there in the last couple of decades. So I've really been following it as I'm sure many of you have, most of you have probably been there more recently than I have. But it's been a pleasure to work with the Haiti Health Network as a friend on trying to improve the conditions down there. So nice to be here with all of you, friends of Haiti.
Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry I'm not there in person. I was thankful I got to meet a lot of y'all last year. My name is Barbara Campbell. I'm the executive director of the Dalton Foundation, and we are very privileged to get to fund and support the Haiti Health Network. And it's just been an absolute blessing to get to work with Rick and Megan, Elaine and Roro on all the different advocacy projects we've been doing, and we're really excited to talk with you today.
Again, I just want to thank everybody. I did want to, before we get started with some of the speaking that we have, I want to encourage you in the fact that this will not be lecture style. We would love to have a working group conversation with you all who are here in the room, as well as Janice had said, those of you who are online, please feel free to put your questions in the chat. We are, we're going to not only walk through remembering Haiti in the past and how it came to be today, the present, some things that have been strategies, excuse me, that have been tried, as well as ongoing strategies, and then come together again in collaboration through conversation in order to assess what is currently happening, but then to hopefully leverage that collaboration by the end of our discussion. And so when we do have those question and answer times, if we could keep answers to maybe 1 to 3 sentences for sake of time. And then during networking, we would love to ask you to expand on those answers further. So please, this is participatory. So please join in the conversation.
How many of you have been to Haiti recently? Yeah. Maybe some of you have heard so many things that is happening in Haiti today. It looks like a dysfunctional country to you, right? But it didn't have to be that way. Haiti was never that way. It became that way. I was born and raised in Haiti. The Haiti I know today wasn't the Haiti I grew up in. Haiti was beautiful, peaceful, and it was one of the safe countries that you didn't have to be afraid to live on. I never knew Haiti about not having electricity, clean water, no gas, and even lack of oxygen. I never knew Haiti that way. And even here, I never heard about kidnapping when I was growing up. I could walk all night, every day, all night, all day. I didn't have to worry about to be kidnapped. But today I am. And I know all of you know what I'm talking about. I remember when I was a little girl and my dad used to take us, all my siblings, and would take us for a walk at night. And it would be so beautiful and fresh. The country, the Port-au-Prince wasn't crowded, and it was beautiful and nice breeze from the ocean. You could even hear the waves from where we were. So it was so beautiful at night. nice breeze, and then we would be walking. And then we would be sitting on the top of a hill. Guess what we were doing? Watching on a big screen, watching a movie. We used to have drive-in cine, where we could see the images, but we couldn't hear anything. It was so nice, and my dad will have his arms around us, and he will be telling us stories. Just five of us. We didn't have to worry about anything. We could smell the jasmine at night, and then we could smell even the coffee. And for those who've been to Haiti, you will know what I'm talking about. Maybe you heard about Haitian blue, that coffee. Not everybody can get that, but I could smell it at night. It was something that in my head that I cannot take it out. I'm trying not to be emotional. I'm homesick right now. Excuse me. I remember when we used to have cruise ships come to town. I was a little girl and I could hear, when the ships are ready to leave, they will honk the horn, and then wherever you are, you can hear it, boom, boom, and they say, oh, they are leaving, And I remember there would be tourists everywhere. They were not afraid to get robbed. They were not afraid to get kidnapped. Everybody was happy, and there were vendors everywhere. All the lights were, I don't know if you ever been downtown, maybe not, because downtown is not the same downtown that I know today. All the stores were open, lights, we didn't have problem with electricity, all lit up. And then it was a fun thing for us to do as kids, to go downtown to see all the tourists and get into, they used to come and get even jewelries, wedding bands, engaged, and people will get engaged right there. This is how I watch all those things. And it was beautiful when that's something that I cannot erase in my mind. I will go downtown today, and I said, is that Haiti? I know. I remember taking pictures downtown, and it was so beautiful. And I said, what happened to my country? And I'm talking about a couple of years ago, but what about now? I heard it's worst. Things were so different. I remember when people used to get arrested. Why? When they were littering the street. For you've been to Haiti recently, you see trash everywhere. You were not allowed to do that. You get arrested. And they had a special car. It looks like a van. I can picture the color of the van today. They will drive around to see who is littering and who is walking barefooted and who is walking dirty. And you get arrested and put to jail. And I could go on and on and on. This is the kind of Haiti I know. And this is the kind of Haiti I want back in order for me to take my kids, my grandkids, to the Haiti that was once called the Pearl of the Antilles, la Perle des Antilles, Haiti chérie. It doesn't have to stay that way. We cannot do it by ourselves. And this is where you come in. And I would love to ask you a question. What do you think it would take to get Haiti back to where it was? Can anybody answer that for me? Do you have any idea what we can do to take Haiti back? Yes?
Well, I don't know how it can be brought about. Security. But I think
Okay, so security and a new government.
Mhm.
Anybody else have any thought?
The political situation, the type of government that was in place in the time period you're speaking of. And what contrasts that with the difference with what
Okay.
recently has been there?
Yeah, I was born when Duvalier, if you heard about, that not baby dog, but I'm talking about the father. I was born while he was president. I remember things were in order. The only thing we couldn't do is to say anything bad about his government. You couldn't say anything bad about him. You will get arrested. But after that, everything was so smooth. When we come about inflation, everybody could eat. We didn't know what that would about inflation. And I remember we used to pay for 20 pounds, 25 pounds of rice. It was less than $10 Haitian. Now we're talking about less than $1 American today.
Comment on Steve, following up on Stephen's question on the quantum coup.
Mhm.
So-
Possibly the relationship with quantum today.
Well, I would rather, honestly, when I was growing up, I remember those Tonton Macoutes. They are doing the Duvalier's work, but they were not like those gangs today. No, they were not. You cannot
Yeah.
compare at all.
And
You
so
want to say something?
I think that so I hear security and I hear new government, right?
Mhm.
And I think that as we go throughout and we're talking about how Haiti has gotten to the point where it is today, we're going to see that there have been a multitude of, whether it's different types of government or different types of leadership from not only within but outside of Haiti that have contributed to where Haiti is at today, right? And so during that time, yes, things were smooth. There were still some restriction on what we would consider freedoms, right?
Mhm.
Speaking about the government and things like that. But it's time to reimagine what that could look like too. And so, yes, we do want to remember what has happened and what happened in the past, and how can we use that to make it better. So I want us to understand that it is so important to not forget where this cycle of dysfunction has started, but let's not get stuck there. And be able to, from that, say, okay, these were the things that led to dysfunction in that time, led to dysfunction in that time, led to the dysfunction in that time, and take those things and be able to learn from them moving forward. Great question. So I think what just to summarize for Aline, Haiti has the capacity and has the opportunity at a point of dysfunction. It doesn't necessarily mean that Haiti is done for or it's the end, right? But we can almost look at it as almost as a clean slate. And so moving forward from, okay, here's what a picture of what Haiti can be like, and moving forward to what Haiti is today. And Ted, it'll kind of expand on that, what the difference between the military then and now, what became of the military then and now what the gangs are like. But again, it helps us to understand, okay, this is where we're starting from, right? So Ro, would you like to expand on what it looks like today, presently?
Now that Elaine has shared with you about the old Haiti that we know, just the other day, someone called me and asked me, He said, Ro, how are you doing? And I started to say, I was doing good. Then I said, no, I'm lying. I am not well. My heart is hurting for Haiti. And he said, why? And I said, for what is happening in Haiti today. I have a friend who called me, and I said, also, how are you doing? He's in Haiti. And he said, Past. Everybody called me Past. He said, Past. I am not living. I am surviving. And I take this not only for my friend who said that he is surviving, but Haiti now is on the survival mode, the way it is today. Living in Haiti is almost like living in hell. The way things are in the whole country. People are in survival mode because of what is happening. Every day, people are being murdered. Destruction all over. People are living with gangs, marching in the neighborhoods, setting their homes on fire, and chasing residents into the streets, leaving them to flee everything they own, and sleeping with the children, holding in the public square. Just last week, in Carrefour Ferry, in the neighborhood of Port-au-Prince, I was watching on the news. I see people by hundreds leaving their home. There have been over 200, 300, 400 homes burned down. And some people have been burned alive. Just last week, kids, I heard 3 kids. One was 9 years old, one was 6, one was 4. They were searching, looking for their mom and dad. They couldn't find them. They don't know if they're alive or they were displaced. Those were three kids. People are living with gang members, killing husbands and for their wives, or raping wives on the bodies of the dead husband, or shooting parents in front of their children. There are thousands of people being kidnapped, who have been kidnapped since the assassination 2 years ago of President Jovenel Moise. And I know, Ted, you've got some of your people who've been kidnapped. We too have friends and families who've been kidnapped in Haiti. And people are borrowing, selling all their own so that to pay ransom. People cannot live with basic needs such as food, medicine, water. Like in Jacmel where we work, you have to go through Matisson on National Number 2 to go to Jacmel. We cannot bring food. Just 2 weeks ago, last week, we had some food that was coming from Jacmel to Port-au-Prince. We are being some people in Port. When we get to Matisson, the gang stopped the van. They look at inside and they took some of the food. So people are paying the gang. People are living in fear because of bullets by day, fire by night, terror around the clock. Every day. Eileen and I, we left our home since January 4th of this year. We haven't been able to go to our house. since January 4th. We live in La Plaine, Nifquadebuque area, and there are so many. Sometimes you hear the gun. It looks like you are in a war zone. War zone with big machine guns. Hospitals are being closed for fear of gangs violence. Doctors and nurses can't come to work, and when they come, sometimes they have no medicine. They have no oxygen, no fuel to run the generators. We have a hospital in Jacmel. 2 o'clock in the morning, someone called me and said, we have someone who is dying because he cannot breathe. We have no oxygen. Can you help us? Fortunately, we had a can of oxygen. About 2 o'clock in the morning, they have to come in and get it to save that person's life. Haiti in a survival mode. Cops, there are cops in Haiti, they're quitting in frustration. Even cops, policemen are being shot. Just yesterday in Solino area on Delmas 24, where we have our schools and the church, a cop had been killed there. And they are being murdered like us civilians in Haiti. We are in a survival mode. When churches are not safe, when orphanages are not safe, when missionaries are being kidnapped, no country can survive in those situations. Today, there are more people dying in Haiti than in warfare. Haiti is a war zone, and people are trying to survive. Because nothing is being said in the news here in the States, it doesn't mean that it is not happening. There are bad things happening in Haiti, and people are dying. I have a friend of mine who was high in the government. Gangs went to his house and gave him 30 minutes to get 2 suitcases and leave his home. He was working for the government. So he has to pack and the guy's machine guns waiting, and then for him to leave. People can't live. They have no water, no food, not because there is no food in Haiti for us to eat, not because there is no water, because there is no passage. There is no way. Because Port-au-Prince, everything is on Port-au-Prince, but to go to Jacmel, to go to Jérémie, to go to Font Parisien, you have to cross the gangs, but they will stop you. And because of that, people are starving. You have this statistic in one of the sheets. You can look how many people are dying just for food every day. People, Haiti, the whole country is in the survival mode in Haiti.
Yeah, so, like to summarize what Ro is saying, we feel it's necessary that we're not simply looking at statistics on a sheet, because each one of those numbers is a Haitian brother or sister. Each one of those numbers, you have a sheet in your packet that will give you some statistics on what Haiti looks like today in statistic form, but each one of those numbers has a story behind why it became that number. There are 562, if not more, because we know that's only the reported number, just 562 people dying a day because of hunger. That should say something. And so when Ro was talking about how there are more people dying in Haiti than in a war zone, the other day, please hear that I'm not valuing one life over another. There was an amount provided in individuals who are passing in Ukraine. and they said it was an unprecedented number of 16. And I only throw that out there for comparison, again, not to devalue anything that is happening around the world. 562 people just from hunger. And so it's important that we remember and that we help people understand that these are people that many of you have worked alongside of and even lived alongside of at times. So we wanted to make sure that you had the opportunity to kind of see what it is that is preventing the passage of food. Ro mentioned that there's food in the country, but with food inflation being over 53%, and in some places, by the time that it gets to places like Jacmel or even places in Lacaille and Jeremy, by the time that it gets to places like that, it could be 100% in inflation. And so the reason things look like that is because there are only 4 main routes through the country, right? And those are the areas that the gangs are holding tight to, because one of the reasons is because that's the way that they make their business, by charging tolls or by charging to go through the road. And so by the time that those things are moved through the road, either they're gone because they've been confiscated, or the people who are moving them have to pay a toll, which then gets put back onto the customer that they're supplying that to, which then leaks down to anyone who's trying to buy that food. So we have a director of operations on the ground in Haiti, and he said, Megan, there's nothing in the open markets. And when I went to the, he calls it the surplus store in Jacmel, I walked out with 2 small plastic grocery bags, like the grocery bags you get from Walmart. And he said, I spent over 200 American dollars. And part of that is because everything has to come from Port-au-Prince, right? The other thing that we wanted to make sure that you were aware of is the number of displaced people that is increasing by day. As Ro mentioned, he's had friends and colleagues that have said, well, even, I mean, if you think about it, Ro and Aline are displaced, right? Fortunately, they have a place to go, but they've not, their home is in Haiti. And so when we're thinking about displaced people, where are they going? They're going to Lacaille, they're going to Jeremy, they're going to the north, right? But those places already are short on resources. So they're going to areas that are unable to supply basic needs for their current community. And then the other thing that we wanted to just kind of not let you experience necessarily, but we wanted you to hear what it's like to live in those areas on a daily basis. And Janice, if you would switch to that next screen, Ro was talking about people describing Haiti as a war zone. They're describing it as a conflict area, and they're describing it as living in hell. And this is why. There wasn't a whole lot to see necessarily in that video, but we wanted you to hear it. So given the present situation.
And That was not far from my house for 2 weeks. For me I couldn't leave my house in Port to go to Jacmel. In order to go to Jacmel, I had to say to myself, I'm going to go find a way to go to Cape Haitian, get on a plane that will fly me to the big airport in Port-au-Prince, and then from there catch another plane to fly to Jacmel. And so I couldn't do that, so I find a way to go to the airport, and then there was no flight to Jacmel. There was one flight to Lagonav, and I said, I don't want to stay in Port-au-Prince. Take me to Lagonav. So I flew to Lagonav. I know nobody there, but I said, I am a minister. I know there is a church somewhere there I can ask, and to stay there. Fortunately, 2-3 hours later, there was another plane coming, and I asked him if he would take me to Jacmel. So I paid $200 to fly me to Jacmel. But that was for 2 weeks. There was, and everywhere in Port-au-Prince, in Carrefour, in Carrefour, Croix-des-Bouquets, this type of guns you hear, it is real.
Yeah. So it makes us think about what can be Jim, and I see that he's gone from his seat now, but Jim had mentioned that security was needed for change. And I want to take a quick moment during this question and answer, or during this question time, and just ask, if security is needed, what's your understanding currently of the police department and the military in Haiti? Okay. So go ahead.
Yeah, my understanding is there's really no functioning military, and that the police department is totally understaffed, underpaid, non-functional for the most part.
So the police department is functional, but I can understand why you might have said non-functional. So there are, on average, and this is on your sheet to reference later as well, on average, there are approximately 9,000 police officers within the Haiti National Police at this time. On a daily basis, there are approximately 3,000 that are circulating within the country. So within the entire country of 11.5 or some statistics say 12 million people, there are 3,000 that are patrolling at one time. So highly understaffed, yes. Highly under-equipped, yes. The police officers they want to help serve, right? But how do you do that whenever you are facing, how do you do that when you don't have the equipment that you need to even go in at an even level for what you just heard, right? Rick, did you want to say anything to that?
I was going to say the gangs are well equipped than the policemen. Yeah.
So, a couple of things. Obviously, public safety is the precondition for any progress in these countries. My experience, for those, just so you know me a little better, I've worked in over 40 conflict countries, going back to Haiti in 1990, but then really pretty much, you just name it, Rwanda, wherever the things have been going on. The police are naturally compromised because they live as regular Haitians do in neighborhoods that are controlled by the gangs. So for them to go to work and to come home and see their mamas and their children, they have to probably cut deals. It's not so. This is one of these places that we're going to have to show some agility in our interpretation of the dedication of these people, because there's a survival requirement that compromises the traditional integrity of a police force. But if you see U.S. government policy, it will probably include vetting policemen to see which ones have been compromised. Well, it's going to be a high percentage of people who have been compromised. So we have to make, this is the kind of adjustment that I hope we can talk about as the day goes on. One quick anecdote, because it has to do with Kenya. And we're now thinking that the Kenyan police may be part of our release from this condition. I worked in Kenya after the election where 1,500 people were killed and 500,000 people left their homes. And when I arrived in Kenya, we were going to work on the next election. And like Haiti, and answering Ted's question, the earlier violence had been political violence. It had been professional. It was controlled by somebody who said, get that person. What the election in Kenya in 2007 or 8, whatever year it was, proved was that the professionals were no longer in control. That is true in Haiti as well. The professionals are not in control of the violence. But what we heard in Kenya was, you can't work with the police. The police are all corrupt. And I was running a US government program, and I said, I know there's at least one honest Kenyan policeman. And I'm going to find that policeman, and we're going to work with the police. Now, of course, there were thousands of honest Kenyan policemen, but the circumstances were not such that a classic interpretation would make them useful, viable, helpful in our work. So I think we're going to have the same circumstance here. It may not be a great building block, but it's one that we've got to figure out.
Yeah, I have a question. Who is providing the arms and how are they paying for them?
Who's what?
So that
Where are the, obviously there's a lot of arms here. There's a lot of munitions, ammunitions and a lot going on here. Where's that coming from?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Mm-hmm.
Walmart.
Yeah.
But who's
Florida,
paying for it? I can get it from Walmart, but who's paying for it?
Everybody who gets stopped at one of these, gets kidnapped, stopped at one of these roadblocks, whatnot. That's the revenue system.
Okay.
So there are actually reports that very high level reports that show some of the shipping lanes and things of containers that have ammunition coming from Florida, Texas, places like that. I know that we have those reports. Some of them have been referenced in the Miami Herald. That's something that we can give Janice as a reference, in addition to some of the things that we've also provided, but many of them are coming from the United States themselves.
Well, where it's coming from is
You're asking
who is paying for that? I don't know how much you're going to get from abducting people down there. So obviously there's another source.
So there's been a lot of
Yeah, but we should be able to figure that out.
Correct. So I have to say that's one of the points of frustration, and that's something that if security is going to be provided, and you'll hear that with the collaboration, with the reimagined collaboration that we wanted that we want to do, we have to push for the U.S. Customs and things to have a tighter control over what is coming to Haiti in those containers.
Yeah, I was going to.
Yeah, I got that, because even prior to all this violence that's going on now, the flow of drugs hopping through Haiti was significant. And I'm just trying to guess that somehow you got to tap that off.
Yes, those are all tied together.
This, I was going to say, this same question you're asking, we have a family member who got kidnapped, and then she got to sit down. There would be there was a young guy. He was in his 20s, and you couldn't see his face, but she said when they are coming, he said, I'm coming, I'm coming. And then when they said, I'm coming, she had to fold her eyes so you won't see her face. But one time the guy said, oh, you don't need to do that. But he did himself, so you would recognize. And then since she is a Christian and she was talking to him about God and said, you're so young, why are you doing this? You could have done something else and everything. And then he said, ma'am, you see, I'm young. I'm hungry. I don't have anything to do. There's no job. Have you ever wondered, we are so poor in Haiti. We don't have anything. Have you ever wondered where we get those guns, where we get those munitions? Do you think we couldn't buy them? You know, that's the same question we all asking. We don't know. And believe me, I've been praying. I said, God, let me meet with one of those people who are sending those, or maybe they need to repent. That's what I said, because there are so many bloods and so many lives in those people's hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we do have
Go
some
ahead.
questions coming through online as well.
Yes.
I want to bring those to you. And we've been talking about this. Is there an understanding as to who is funding the gangs and why? Are they being funded by the cartels to make Haiti a launch pad for drug rings?
I mean, I don't know that I can answer that question specifically, but that has been a theory.
Okay.
I was going to add in. Oh, go ahead, Rick.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to add on this conversation to Rick's point. It's a complicated situation now. You know, there's over 200 gangs operating, and when you ask who's funding them, I think you'd be getting different funding sources for each different gang, and it's kind of like a little bit is adding up to a lot over time. And I think that's part of the compounding factor. And as Megan was saying and Eileen was saying, not all the gang members even want to be in the gangs, but it's a matter of survival. And it's just gotten really complicated over the past several years to where solving it is not super easy, if that makes sense.
I would just like to add, I think this is a lot more chaotic than North Central America, which is actually much more violent in terms of the gang structures. The gang structures in North Central America are really highly professionalized. They're criminalized. They are disciplined. They have strong leadership. They're extremely violent. This is much more entrepreneurial, much more chaotic, not as universal. I think for people who think that the drug trade is probably at the heart of this, my suspicion is that that's not correct. The drug trade really wants a much more predictable environment. They want to be able to work with police they can buy, that they own. They want to know that there's actually some people are in prison. There are whole lots of things that they count on. So this is more it's less predictable right now, but it's not as dominant as it is in North Central America. So I guess that's good news. But the other thing to keep in mind is that even as these gangs proliferate, and what they generally do is the people controlling these small warlords generally control the munitions. They oftentimes will give people guns, but then they control whether they've got anything to shoot. But as you get more entrepreneurial, more and more people starting their own gangs, some of that is obviously also broken down. That's kind of where we are now, but that anarchic quality is one of the things that makes, and the unpredictability is one of the things that makes this so intimidating and makes freedom of movement so difficult.
Yeah. And so while right now, I would say that it is very unpredictable, but we have seen too where gangs are strategizing together, right? And so the longer that this goes the longer that it goes without any consequences without any retribution or without any type of action towards it, the more sophisticated that it will become.
I think that's a good point. Having talked to some of our peers down there, the gangs are consolidating. The gangs are consolidating. I mean, they understand that there's probably going to be some resistance somewhere. They're not sure who's going to provide it, whether the Kenyans or whether it's going to be the CARICOM country. They understand that. They figured it out. So gone are the young kids that want to put food on the table. They're vying for power now. Now, there's a lot more to say about power. When you fight for power, then you fight for your next meal. And this is what's beginning to develop. We had a negotiator that negotiated a kidnapped container. And he said that the weapons that he saw were massive and they were all from America. And he knows weapons. And he went to he negotiated to get rid of, we had a container that was kidnapped that had to be released. And he did the negotiating for us. But from America and a lot of them.
So we'll take one more question from this section.
I don't know if, well, it is a form of a question. There was a national news report some months back of 4 gangs who were led by a priest to agree that they would stop their gang activity. And I'm wondering if that truce held. It was a priest who had been living in Haiti for decades, and he watched these young gang members grow up. And so he knew them, and he was able to get 4 major gangs to agree to a truce. But I haven't heard any more since that, but it was on the national news.
Yeah, it was on the national news. And I think that we have to remember that, well, some of the truces that didn't make the news have not held. And so there's still action coming from some of those gangs. But Barbara, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, sure. That's Father Hagen, and I happened to be with him the day that story came out in the Miami Herald, and got to hear some of the backstory behind that and the heart behind it, which was definitely good. And I think there was a sense of peace in the Cité Soleil area that occurred after that agreement, and there was some increased freedom of movement, and there was a sense of relief. I don't want to put a date on how long that lasted, but there was a period where it did seem like things slowed down. But from what I'm hearing on all the security reports that we sit in on and all of our staff on the ground, that has not held. I think some of those gangs are still kind of working together, but the level of violence in the Cité Soleil area has gone up, and the level of fear has gone back up. So I don't think it's exactly what they envisioned it to be.
I think what you will see is cycles of expansion, consolidation, cycles of truces, holding, not holding. I mean, you will have lots of informal agreements. That's going to be the dynamic in essentially a situation where nobody's in control. So there'll be cutting deals. There have been stories that I'm sure you've all seen about the police reacting more slowly to maybe a gang versus gang, a confrontation in one place, or actually reacting on the side of one group versus another in another confrontation. So you'll just continue to see this somewhat chaotic environment where everything is being tried, vigilante groups succeeding, not succeeding, being wiped out in revenge for having succeeded in another place. And so these kinds of cycles are really, I mean, I don't want to professionalize it by saying predictable, but that's about the only thing that is predictable, is the unpredictability.
Yeah. And so I think it is worth mentioning that there's as what we've been discussing over the last several minutes here, there's so much, right? So much deterioration of social systems and the inability to move supplies, so the breakdown of the supply chain. And so with all of that, there have been strategies attempted in the last couple of years, and that I believe that's what Barbara is going to discuss next. But even in some of these strategies that we're going to discuss that have not panned out the way that that individuals had hoped, that doesn't mean that we stop trying. And so, Barbara, I'm going to turn it over to you
Can I say one more thing just quickly? When Ted and I got together and started talking regularly every week about this a couple of years ago, the statement that Barbara and others would make was, things cannot get any worse. And I would say that most of us feel that things have gotten worse despite our best efforts. And she's going to talk about some of our best efforts. So it reminds me a little bit of the situation in Liberia. Did any of you ever work in Liberia, where you've Peace Corps volunteers there, or anything like that? No. So Liberia did just have kind of a slow, steady deterioration. It never had the genocide of Rwanda, but it just had chaos upon chaos upon chaos. And the city eventually, Monrovia, the capital, eventually being overrun. Buildings like this that might have housed the Ministry of Foreign Affairs were gutted. All the windows are gone. Anything of value, wiring, everything else was gone, and squatters living in these buildings. So the one of the things we've concentrated on from the beginning is how do you turn the corner? How do you bottom this out? How do you not let it just feed upon itself? And that's one of the great tragedies for us of the last couple of years. But you cannot accept that things cannot get any worse. That is not a good premise.
Yeah, we stopped saying that quite a while ago, didn't we, Megan? When this first started. But thank you, Roro and Aline, especially for highlighting and giving the beautiful backstory of how Haiti used to be, and for Roro, for everyone outlining the current realities of where we're at. I think we all, I know you all feel this like I do. We're in this tension because every single one of us, if we're here right now, we care deeply about Haiti and its people so intently in some form or fashion. We've all been involved and we all care. We know that our friends are suffering and our family are suffering. We know that there are solutions out there, but yet we're in this tension where nothing is being done. And it's just, I know Megan and everyone has touched on a little bit, but it's just this tension that we live in. And like Rower said, people ask you how you're doing, and you can lie and say fine, but you're just living in this place. And so given all these challenges, and then I also wanted to highlight a few other things that are affecting what's going on. I mean, everything that was described, I don't think any of us here would debate that this is a humanitarian crisis, that this is an unacceptable way for people to be living, especially in our backyard. I mean, we're a 90-minute plane ride from Miami, for goodness sake. And it's just hard to wrap our minds around our neighbors suffering like this. And one thing we always say too is, like, Haiti is like the war that hasn't been declared. It's the disaster that we're not really labeling a disaster. And so we're kind of used to seeing the cavalry coming when there's a natural disaster, an earthquake, or like we see in Haiti, the hurricanes that are hitting. But we are not seeing the cavalry coming. And so we have to look at some of the reasons for why that is. Like, why is the cavalry not coming? And I've had to just really grapple with this myself in my naivety as I've learned throughout this process. But there have been, of course, history of past interventions, and there is a strong fear of repeating mistakes again. Like, we don't want to keep repeating the same mistakes over and over. People have been hurt by past interventions. We can't deny that. But are we at the point now of what can we do? Can we keep hoping that it gets better, or what do we have to do? So there's a tension there. There are a lot of messages coming out of the Haitian diaspora in the United States and in other countries as well. And it's a mixed message. Some people are saying, need to come in and provide support. Others are saying absolutely not. And then the voice of the diaspora is really powerful. I don't think people should underestimate that voice, because it's an important voice. And with mixed messages coming out, leaders are left in a position of, what do we do? We have to also acknowledge reality that there are a lot of things going on around the world. There's the war in Ukraine. There's other countries, the Yemen, Afghanistan. There's natural disasters all over the world. So there's this kind of, when you're talking to leaders, this is kind of almost, it sounds harsh, but there's this get in line kind of mentality that we have to understand and come up against. We're also living in a time, and this is not bad, where we really value the lives of our troops, and other countries do too. And so we don't just haphazardly throw our troops in harm's way. We learn through past history too, and we think through that of how we want to engage in these conflicts. We haven't talked about it, but I think we're all aware there's really no elected government in Haiti right now. And while we talk about that, it's a huge deal, because when we talk about the US government or the Canadian government addressing the situation in Haiti, the governments deal with governments. And there's really there isn't an elected government in Haiti right now. And that in and of itself, it's not an impossibility, but it does present challenges when it comes to trying to solve this problem. And all that combined with the fact that as Rick pointed out, there are a lot of different gangs now. They're very entrepreneurial. They have different motives. They're getting their funding in different ways. It's a very complex situation right now. And as time has gone on, the gangs have gotten more and more advanced and more armed than I think a lot of people initially realized. So that's where we're at. It's a very complex situation. And so we, all of us, I'm sure, have sat around and thought, what can we do? And I'm sure I'll ask some questions at the end, but I'm sure all of y'all have thought of some great ways to adapt your work in order to continue doing what you can. I'm always incredibly amazed at the resiliency of all of y'all to keep working and keep going and keep serving the people of Haiti. But at some point, we have to really acknowledge that the security issue is, we can't keep doing these workarounds forever. As we keep meeting with people, we understand that that reality is getting harder and harder to do, is to keep working around and keep working around. It keeps getting more expensive, and it's harder to do. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I don't know if I can't see the slides. So if you go to my second slide, maybe that's already showing, I'm not sure. But I just want to talk a little bit about what we at the Haiti Health Network have tried to do. And again, I can't underscore the value of people like Dr. Ted Higgins, who's there in your room, Megan, who's there on the stage, and Rick Barton, who have helped us immensely. We have a wonderful advocacy committee. I see there's a comment that they're not seeing the slides. Okay, great. Thank you. Now I can see it as well. Thank you so much. But this advocacy committee has been very committed to how can we take the story, or I just want to say, how can we be a voice, a collective voice for what we're hearing in Haiti, and how can we support the healthcare providers in Haiti? So a couple of things that we really want to do, that we wanted to do as the Haiti Health Network, is how can we support the members of the network? How can we just be there, I guess, is just one way to say it. And so we set up a regular cadence of meetings that happen a couple times a month, and we just keep having them. I think that consistency is really, really important. A lot of times, most of the times, these meetings can become almost a little bit of a therapy session. I think it is important that when you're dealing with these extremely dangerous and frustrating situations, that you know that you're not alone and that you have other people to talk with as well. I'm on the next slide if it's possible to change it, but not a big deal if we can't. We use this time in these meetings to share our resources, connect people with other people. I have this, I need this, how can we connect? We do a lot of that both at the meetings and then offline. I had one Haiti Health Network member tell me that we are creating efficiencies and sustainability in a broken system. And I liked that quote because I think that's what we're trying to do as best we can. We're also able to share security reports with one another to try to help keep each other safe and also connect people online. We've been able to help people when they've had staff members kidnapped. And there's just been all kinds of stories where the network has just tried to support healthcare on the ground. And we're really able to do some surveys to understand and try to quantify how organizations have been impacted by this. We were able to collect how much your budget has gone up. What's happened to your staffing levels? What does your supply chain look like? And then we can quantify that information anonymously because I think security is extremely important. We can't and don't share out specific organizations and names, but it's just a collaborative. This is what we're seeing in the healthcare landscape. And the healthcare sector in Haiti is huge. And it's an important voice that helps protect the people. And so we believe that it is a voice that's worth hearing. And so we have been trying to aggregate that voice and share it in these numbers. The advocacy committee came together and really thought about what can we do? How can we have an impact? And again, Rick, I can't thank you enough for helping guide us and teach us because advocacy is not my background, but I've learned a lot. I think we all have, and it's been wonderful. So we set around how can we implement some communication strategies with some of the key leaders that would be in a position to ultimately make a decision. So who within the US government, the State Department, congressional leaders, who within the UN, the diaspora, can we start communicating with to get these ideas out in front of everybody? And like we said, we're not seeing it in the media every day, but how can we make sure we keep it in front of people because people are continuing to suffer? We did a great email campaign where we identified about 50 of the key leaders within the State Department to communicate with on a regular, semi-regular basis to share updates from what we're hearing and to also hear from them as to what is the thought process in the leadership community. We have met with countless numbers of congressional leaders, bipartisan, both sides, through letter writing campaigns and also in Washington, D.C. in person. Megan, you and your team have done a wonderful job with that. Governors, met with governors and other leaders just to keep Haiti in front of them and to challenge them on what are we doing about this? How can we keep ignoring what's going on with what's happening? Same with the UN. We've been very fortunate to get to work with some leaders at the UN. That connection have been huge, and we've been able to contribute ideas. Megan's going to share after the break. Megan's going to share some of the ideas and solutions that we've heard from the ground that we've been sharing with these leaders. We think it's very important to, when you talk with leaders, to have some ideas for solutions, not to just talk about the problem, to spark some creative discussions on ways that things can maybe be done differently this time. And I think that's very important to us. We're not prescriptive in that we have all the answers, but we just want to try to debunk the mindset that it's too dysfunctional to do anything. Nothing can be done. There's always hope. There is things we can do, and we're just constantly trying to leverage and advocate those discussions so that we can start having this situation of hope versus the despair that we find ourselves in. One other last thing I'll mention, and then Rick, I'll turn it over to you for some follow-up, is the idea with the membership. We have a couple hundred members of the Haiti, organizational members of the Haiti Health Network. We have over 1,000 that we reach regularly with email communications, and we've done some email campaigning with them where they have reached out to their congressional leaders. We've provided some letters and templates. That particular campaign was quite successful. We reached over about 25,000 people as we tracked with that campaign to create awareness of the situation. We've also been conducting a couple of surveys to really get the opinion of Haitians living in Haiti as to their thoughts of intervention. I do know that the leaders are very cognizant of the fact that past interventions have not always been the best for the Haitian people. And they really want to hear from the Haitian people, although it's kind of a catch-22 because people are sometimes afraid to speak because of the security situation, the potential of harm for them or their family. So how can we try to get that anonymous voice out? And so we've been doing some surveys. And then in the last section, we're going to talk about some ways that all of y'all can help get involved and to join these efforts, or even hear from you and your efforts that you're doing as well. And that those surveys are going to be part of that. So Rick, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you to mention things that I might be forgetting and to add your perspective to it as well.
Thanks, Barbara. I think you did a really excellent job of covering it. I would say that when we make all these connections, it's quite fascinating what we discover as we go along. So we discover that Ted is operated on the mother of the senator from Florida, that Senator Cassidy's office, who's also a doctor from Louisiana, is very interested in Haiti because of sugar. And we, I end up at a dinner with him in Washington. I don't end up at dinners with senators all the time, so I'm not suggesting that. But I thought, well, this is the only chance I'm going to get to talk to this guy about Haiti. So while he's waiting to get picked up and I'm waiting for my car, valet in front, I go over to him and say, what are we going to do about Haiti? And he says, oh, we got to do something about Haiti. So I'm quite encouraged. He gives me his personal email. It turns out that his key staffer used to work for an organization that I started. So I have a little bit of an entree there. But at the end of the conversation, they want the Canadians to do everything. So it's so there's still that disconnect that isn't quite getting us through. I thought we were being quite clever at the beginning in identifying the 50 people in the U.S. government who had the most responsibility for Haiti. I thought we really did a great job of identifying just about everybody who was touching Haiti in the U.S. administration. And it turned out that many of them agree with us, but a decision to actually say redirect U.S. Special Forces from Niger, there are 1,100 of them there, to Haiti, maybe 150 would be needed at one time, is going to be probably a presidential decision. And it would probably be great if the president actually had a friend or two and it wasn't just his or her decision to make. When I remember when I first got involved, no, the second time I got involved in Haiti was when the US sent 21,000 soldiers there. And when Bill Clinton was the president and he decided to do it, he had the active opposition of the State Department, the CIA, the Defense Department, the Washington Post, and the New York Times. So he pretty much was facing what could be called the establishment. And he decided to send 21,000 soldiers there. Now, his own political experience as governor of Arkansas was instrumental in his thinking. He had been governor during a period when Fidel Castro decided to flush some criminals out of his prisons and send the so-called Mariel boat lift to the U.S. And they didn't have any place to put all those people. And since it was a Democratic president, Jimmy Carter, when he was he was a card-carrying Democratic governor of Arkansas. He offered to house a group of the Mario boat lift people in Arkansas. 2 weeks before his scheduled reelection, they rioted. There was no other news in Arkansas for the last 2 weeks of his reelection campaign. It was one of his two election defeats, and I think that was influential in his thinking about Haiti. That the Florida shore was about to be visited by many people from Haiti, and he had seen that movie, and he had not enjoyed it. So he was willing to take that personal risk. Who knows what the motivation was? But these political decisions, and this is going to be a heavy political decision, are not just run by technocrats, or not just run by acting prime ministers in Haiti. He's asked for this help, or others. And I think what the last thing I'd like to say on this is what Barbara mentioned, is that unity of purpose, that having a strong core argument that those people who are advocating agree to is absolutely central. Because what happens right now when you gather, in particular, a gathering of Haitian Americans, you're likely to get many voices in terms of what needs to happen. And so it's much harder to be able to say there is a clear path and it should be followed. And I hope later on we can maybe talk about some ways that this changed time was going to require new approaches. Megan's going to do some of that, and I'll do some of that as well. Yeah.
I just want to say, I mean, you hear a lot of talk about how Haitians feel about intervention. So I was just going to say, you hear a lot of talk about how Haitians in the U.S. and the ones in Haiti feel about an intervention. And in my position, I talk to Haitians every day, and 100% of the Haitians that I talk to and the people that they know are desperate for somebody to intervene on their behalf and restore security. And I think those are the voices that need to be listened to, because sure, Haitian Americans, they care about what happens in Haiti too, but they're not living it.
Correct.
They are not living through that hell that you said earlier Haiti is in.
Yeah.
So that's why we've done these surveys. We've tried to survey, we've asked people like Ted and others to survey their patients, their employees, get some data that shows the application is actually.
Yeah.
I will get the link out to this survey that we're mentioning, but it's in Creole. We can send it in English so you understand what you're sending out as well. But we are really trying to just hear the Haitian voice. We're not trying to put any bias into it. The questions are very simple. It's very short, just what they want relative to an intervention. And we've got close to 400 responses now, but we really need to push it over 1,000 for it to be really impactful on this latest survey. So Janice, as a follow-up, we'd love to send that out and encourage everyone to get their Haitian staff to lead people to fill that out. It's unbelievably helpful, and the volume and the numbers will be what speaks to the credibility of the survey.
Rick, with regards to following up on your statement, the comments that I've heard is that nothing's going to happen until the U.S. is involved, whether it's through the UN or whether it's through the government. How in Haiti, there's really no government down there. There's a unelected prime minister who's essentially running for his life. What will it take for the U.S.? Will they involve themselves in a country that doesn't have a government? And that can apply to the UN. I mean, what would they be waiting for to take the step to enter into a country? In your experience, I know you've dealt with situations like this. What does it take for involvement? Is it somebody have to shoot the prime minister who's not really elected? Does it take something, what is it?
So I think I think we've been asking that question for a long time now because we all see the need for that, right? And so if you, I mean, obviously I'll let you answer to that.
In 1945, the US did it when President Salnav was, he went into French embassy in Port-au-Prince, and the people went inside of the embassy, dragged him out, and killed him outside the embassy. And the US military did the intervention because there was no president in Haiti. So it's not because we don't have a government that it cannot be done, because that's what the people of Haiti are asking for.
Yeah.
Those of us who are in Haiti are waiting for someone to come and help Haiti in the situation they are in.
Can I say something
Mhm.
about that? I love US. I love the people. I've met so many nice people. But Haiti is my home. I know that the technology is very big in US. I don't know if you guys are watching the world news. I mean, the news, what's going on all over the world. But in Haiti, that was part of our education in school, to know everything that is going on all over the world, because your exam will be on that. So we know all the strategies that US could take, and I know the militaries, the strategies. Those people who are in Haiti, those gangs, they have no clue how to handle a gun. They are dumb. They just give it to them and teach them. They don't know. But let's say the troop goes to Haiti. They are well trained. They have strategies. They can, and I've watched, but you guys did too. When they wanted to take Bin Laden, I saw all the strategies.
Yeah.
I've watched it. I stood up all night to watch. So and then US has I'm not talking about US only. I'm talking about US, Canada, and France. If they wanted to go in, Haiti is just so small. Those people, they will run away. Those guns will run away. They won't fight back, because they know, first of all, everybody in the Caribbean, they know Americans are well trained. They know they have strategies, and they know they are strong, they are powerful. They know they cannot fight, they cannot reply. If they go, believe me, they all will run away. And one more thing,
Mhm.
the doctor, we remember the day when we went to dinner at a friend's house. He was just released from a kidnapping. And he was telling us one of them was begging him to get a visa out.
Mhm.
So they know.
Yeah, I think that there's an understanding within, sometimes I talk to people that have a better understanding of our military than what I do on the ground in Haiti. But at the same time, I do believe, like what we were saying earlier, that there has become a growth in their strategic movements in partnering together and making themselves stronger. And so I think what we're seeing is that those that have taken over areas like Martissant, where they have built a business for themselves, in my opinion, I think that they would fight very hard to relinquish those areas. But we're gonna take Rick's comment, and then we have one more question, and then I think we're going to take a break.
So Ted, to try to speak to your question, clearly the United States and Canada in particular, but you could say then throwing in Brazil and Mexico and other larger countries are capable of doing something that would be helpful here. So capacity is not the issue.
Yeah.
so that makes it a political decision, and really political choices. And generally, I'm a great believer in our system of democracy. So I believe that there has to be public expression, public support. And I think in our conversations, and for all of those of us who work on Haiti, we've probably had numerous conversations with friends and family who have reacted to us in one of several ways. Oh, that's Haiti. Oh, gee, isn't it too bad? Isn't that always the way? Or yeah, didn't we try that before and it didn't work? So there are some, we come up against, at least I come up against that conversation almost immediately. People who know nothing about Haiti know that, oh. And so the rest of the conversation is kind of discouraging. So, so here's what I think are the critical elements to just the progression. And we've tried to follow it, but boy, is it slow, and man, democracy can be frustrating. So the elevation of the elevation of the issue, is it important to the United States? Why is it important to the United States? I did an interview on Monday this week. That was her first question. A reporter who doesn't cover it all the time, but so she's getting to it. Then, is there a path to success? Because nobody likes. I'm from Washington. Nobody likes our football team in Washington. But if they win every game this year, I'm pretty sure that it'll be hard to get tickets. Okay, I mean, it's not going to be. It's not a difficult equation. Is there a manageable risk? Okay, so and there are people who say, as Eileen did, that if they came in, everything would be fine. These are all basically, these gang members are all wannabe rappers, but they've gotten guns in the meantime because that gives them more time on social media. But there are also people who say, no, actually, some of these guys are pretty bad, and they could kill some American soldiers. And then public support, public support, public support. And I'm going to come back and spend a lot of time on that in our final section. And what I would like to just say about public support, just very quickly, how many people here think that having helmet laws for motorcycles are a good idea? How many people there? Okay. How many states have motorcycle helmet laws right now? Yeah, or less. I think at one point they got like 49 states wiped them out. Now, it's not that everybody rides. How many of you lobbied your state legislators to remove motorcycle helmet laws? That's kind of what I thought. So it's not like motorcycle helmets are, and I think you not only have all the people who have the public health common sense that apparently this crowd has, but you also had the insurance companies. You had a lot of powerful people on a good law is a motorcycle helmet law. So all I'm saying is that you don't have to have the numbers. You don't even have to have the arguments. You don't even have to have the people in power. But if you're impassioned and you really want to have some influence on this kind of an issue, you're going to have to exercise your full voices, because otherwise you're going to run into that Haiti kind of conversation. And I don't, and in my section again, I don't think we're going to get. It's not going to what we've done before is not going to happen again. Yeah. It's going to have to be something very much customized to this time, because, as Barbara mentioned, we had Afghanistan and Iraq in our recent history, and Vietnam not that much before it. And those were not, again, for Washington football fans, those were not obvious W's.
Yeah. So we'll take one more question and then we'll summarize for break.
Okay, I've been hearing a lot of good things, and the passion I'm hearing, and from Barbara, let's get the word out, get more people involved. Well, I'm wondering why. I'm wondering if There are two Haitian churches in Kansas City that we know about.
Mhm.
We've been to one, and at the Haitian church, there were at least 300 people there. I'm wondering how we can get them in this type of a forum so that they can share from their perspective as Haitians, how we can get the name Haiti out there, added to passion, added to efforts that are being made to make a difference, because each one of us can make a difference. But a Haitian person, Haitian American,
Yes.
they leave their churches of 300 and they're in a workforce where there might be one or two.
Correct.
So the power is in getting a plan so that the information, the voice of a real person, American, a Haitian American, standing in front of a person or standing in front of the media saying, help.
Yep. And so thank you for doing my transition. No, the reason I say that is because that's actually what we're going to discuss a lot in this next section. So Barbara and Rick gave us a kind of a run through of some of those strategies that have been tried and did not work as successfully as what would have been liked. But there still has to be some sort of action, right? Because people are still suffering and dying, and things are getting worse. And so we're going to talk a lot about what can we do to, something has to happen in between the time that a force arrives and now, right? So in between now and the time that, or tomorrow and the time that a force arrives, but then how can we get that passion and that understanding out that it's going to take more than just, it's going to take more than just us. It's going to take more than just you. It's going to take more than just you. It's going to take more than the average Haitian on the ground who is trying to survive in order to help make that positive change. So we're going to take a break about 15 minutes.
We'll say 10 and I'm sure.
We're going to try to stick to 10. And then when we come back, we will talk about what we have heard and seen that can be leveraged. And then again, we want you to help fill in those blanks.